Ben Obese-Jecty.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I am grateful to you for calling me to make my maiden speech during this King's Speech debate on the economy, welfare and public services. And I congratulate the Honourable Member for Halifax on her maiden speech. As a former officer in the Duke of Wellington's regiment, it is a constituency that obviously has deep links with my former regiment and indeed its antecedent regiments, the 33rd and 76th of Foot. It is fantastic to hear new members on both sides of the House speak so passionately and eloquently about their constituencies. I speak as the first new Member of Parliament for Huntingdon since 2001, but I'm only the third new member in my lifetime and only the fourth new member for the seat since the Second World War. It is therefore an enormous privilege to have been elected to represent the constituency, and I'm honoured to have been voted for by my constituents, following such a long-serving Member of Parliament.
Yeah.
My predecessor, Jonathan Ginogly, served the House and his constituents for some 23 years. In Parliament, he served on the Trade and Industry Select Committee, as Solicitor General and as a Shadow Business Minister. In government, he was the Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State at the Ministry of Justice. But my predecessor's proudest achievements came from the work he delivered locally. His work on tackling flooding from the River Great Ouse saw significant flood alleviation projects delivered in St Ives and the Hemmingfords and further upstream in Godmanchester. Work that has saved thousands from the crippling impact of flood damage on homes and businesses. Work I intend to build upon, delivering further solutions to flooding across the constituency for villages like Alconbury, Abbots Ripton, Wistow, Kimbolton, Broughton and Erith. My predecessor is also rightly proud of his work in facilitating the delivery of both the A14 and the A428, road infrastructure projects which have transformed travel across Cambridgeshire and stand to greatly enhance the region via its position at the tip of the UK Innovation Corridor. The development has set the conditions for Huntingdon's future growth, offering the opportunity for better jobs, taking advantage of the Cambridge cluster and expansion across the region, meaning Huntingdon could be a business hub in its own right, not just a dormitory town for London and for Cambridge. Indeed, despite the growth Huntingdon has seen over the past 60 years, first via the post-war London overspill and now via expansive development, the constituency is still characterised by its thriving towns and its vibrant villages. From the market towns of Huntingdon and St Ives to our rural villages, from Sawtry to Somersham, Houghton to Hamerton, Covington to Colne, Pidley to Perry, and 3 dozen others that won't stretch to my tortured alliteration. Each with their own character and identity, Huntingdonshire is a region with a rich history and one that it will be a privilege to steward. That history extends to some of my other predecessors. Many of you will already be aware that Huntingdon is the seat of a former Prime Minister in Sir John Major, who is still held in the highest regard across the constituency, and it was an honour to receive his endorsement during the recent election campaign. Famously, it is also the former seat of the Lord Protector, Oliver Cromwell. Cromwell was the Member of Parliament for Huntingdon in 1628 for just over 1 year until Charles I dissolved Parliament, and records show that he made just one speech in that time. So far, so equal. Whilst it is clear that Huntingdon expects a certain level of stature from its members of Parliament, notable though Sir John Major and Oliver Cromwell surely are, they are arguably not Huntingdon's most famous product. Nor is it even the celebrated diarist, Samuel Pepys, who attended Huntingdon Grammar School. For the accolade should in fact be awarded to a lunchtime staple, one that everyone is familiar with, one that everyone has a favourite version of, one that some members may well have had for lunch this very day. For John Montagu, 3 times First Lord of the Admiralty, Postmaster General and Secretary of State, is not notable for his political career, nor his colourful social life. No, John Montagu, whose family home was Hinchinbrook House in Huntingdon, is best known today, somewhat arcanely, by the title and the moniker bestowed upon his favourite snack to consume during long sessions at the card table. Indeed, such was the popularity of said snack that other card players would also wish to order it. They would cry, "I'll have the same as sandwich!" And it's obvious where this is going, Mr. Deputy Speaker. For John Montagu, the 4th Earl of Sandwich, not being prepared to break from the card table to eat, would ask his servants to bring him slices of salted beef between 2 pieces of toasted bread. Yes, amongst its formidable political alumni, Huntingdon can also lay claim to a genuine global culinary revolution, described by the Wall Street Journal, no less, as Britain's biggest contribution to gastronomy. Huntingdon is the birthplace of the modern sandwich. Every day is a school day. I digress. Huntingdon's rich history is also characterised by an inextricable link to service via its long relationship with military aviation, initially through the Royal Flying Corps and subsequently during the Second World War via RAF Bomber Command's Pathfinder Force and the United States Army Air Force's 303rd Bombardment Group. On the 4th of July 1942, the US 8th Air Force flew the first American mission over Nazi-occupied Europe from RAF Molesworth. Latterly, during the Cold War, RAF Alconbury saw the US Air Force provide covert, high-altitude reconnaissance along the East German border in a new variant of their famed U-2 spy plane, in addition to providing battlefield damage assessment in the event of a nuclear strike. Most of that base is now Huntingdon's newest housing estate, Alconbury Weald, surely the only housing development in the country with fully functional nuclear decontamination and washdown facilities. Since then, RAF Warboys, RAF Upwood and RAF Brampton have all since disappeared, but the constituency still retains those links, with RAF Alconbury and RAF Molesworth still operated by the United States Air Force and RAF Whitton on the cutting edge of our own defence intelligence capability. Those links carry through into the constituency itself, and it is striking just how many veterans have made their home within its boundaries. 1 in 9 households within Huntingdon are home to a veteran, a staggering number when compared to other constituencies, and a community that, as a British Army veteran myself, I am proud to represent as their Member of Parliament, even if to many of those RAF veterans, I'm just a pongo. I know well how important it is to support our veterans community and to commit to improving veterans' welfare. Having undergone the process myself, the transition from service to civilian life has its challenges, and there are many stories of both success and failure. I served on the Veterans Advisory and Pensions Committee and know well how important it is to ensure that veterans are able to access the services they need. Veterans' identity cards have helped to open those pathways for many who would otherwise struggle to evidence their service. But I would hope that the government will look closely at how support itself is provided. Restructuring Veterans UK and creating a more comprehensive, holistic offering, easing access via an overhauled Veterans Gateway could streamline access to the welfare services that our veterans need. Whilst the cohort of veterans in this House is smaller than in previous parliaments, it is now younger and sports members on both sides of the House who have more recent operational experience and, crucially, more recent experience of the often difficult post-military transition to civilian life. Parliament is well placed to champion veterans' welfare, and given the debt our democracy owes to those who have served so proudly, I hope that we can collectively ensure that the finest armed forces in the world are treated here as the finest veterans in the world. Yeah. I know Huntingdon's veterans would expect me to challenge the government to meet that standard. I'm hugely proud of having been given this opportunity to serve Huntingdon, to be its champion both in Parliament and in the constituency, and I look forward to meeting the challenges ahead. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.